On this episode of Locked On Grizzlies, Ja Morant has a new agent, a familiar name to Memphians and Memphis Grizzlies fans. Plus, in the spirit of the NFL draft, Damichael Cole and I have decided to conduct our own 2024 Memphis Grizzlies roster draft. Who's going to have the best team? Whose team will reign supreme? You guys in our comments section and on X will make that determination over the weekend. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Grizzlies. Let's lock in.
You are Locked On Grizzlies, your daily Memphis Grizzlies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On Grizzlies. I am your host, Joe Mullinax, joined by my co-host, Damichael Cole of the Commercial Appeal there in Memphis, Tennessee. Very excited to be back with him. He did a great job going solo on yesterday's show. Very happy that the dynamic duo once again is riding here on Locked On Grizzlies. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts as proud members of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every single day. Like, comment, rate, review, subscribe, whatever the case might be, wherever you get a podcast, check us out, be a part of the conversation. And by the end of today's show, you're definitely going to want to be a part of the conversation, whether it's on X or on wherever you can comment on your podcast here, especially on YouTube, because we need to take some votes to Mike. We're going to see whose team is going to reign supreme in honor of the NFL draft that got underway yesterday and, of course, carries on today and through the weekend. But before we get to our draft, Damichael, Ja Morant has brand new representation. You've talked about this before on the show. You've done a lot of work over the Commercial Appeal in Memphis, Tennessee as an award-winning Memphis Grizzlies beat writer covering Ja Morant's agent's change. The changes – I'm trying to figure out the right way to phrase this to Michael. It's not surprising because you cover the team, you and I have conversations, and the things we've talked about, talking with others. Maybe the choice of Mike Miller isn't as surprising to locals. I feel nationally, people are going to see that announcement and say, what in the heck is going on?
Yeah, it's one of those things where nationally you say what the heck is going on, but locally, after you think about it and you think it through, you understand. And again, this was the guy. If you watched the show maybe a week or 2 weeks ago, when I was talking about, I've heard some rumblings of the potential agent that Ja Morant is going to sign with. I just want to say his name yet, but Mike Miller was the guy that I was talking about. And in that show, we talked about the familiarity aspect of it, and that's where if kind of what Ja Morant has stood for and his time in the league, makes perfect sense. If you say, of all the agents in the NBA, who does Ja Morant have the best organic relationship with, everyone will tell you Mike Miller. And that's because not only do they live pretty much down the street from each other, in Memphis, but they also have the NBA player relationship. They also have the relationship where, Mike Miller was at Houston, not too long ago. Ja Morant's sister, went to Houston, and the basketball perspective there. They also have the fact that, Mike Miller used to go to Ja Morant's house, for some of those basketball pickup sections and things like that. He used to be there. So there's a really solid personal relationship here that leads to, I think, again, because a lot of us will say, you separate the business from the personal. And I think that in Ja Morant's case, I can't speak for him, but if you look at the steps, that he's made, over the course of his years in the NBA, the things that he said, he kind of mixes business with personal from a trust standpoint of the people who handle my business are going to be the people who I trust the most. And 12-time his AAU team is the perfect example of that. The coaches for that team are, like Jonathan Thomas, which is Ja Morant's trainer. Devontae Pack coaches the 6th grade boys team, which is Ja Morant's, pretty much his best friend. They call each other brothers. T. Morant, his father, is heavily involved in the 7th grade girls and boys teams as well. And so it's not like Ja vetted some outside coaches or things like that. It's keep it, as they say, they like to keep it in the family. And that's kind of what this decision is with Mike Miller, in my opinion. He's an agent where Ja already knows him well. There's an NBA background perspective there. So when, certain things come up, he's a trusted opinion that Ja can get from the NBA perspective. Mike Miller's been there. He's played on championship teams. He's played on quality playoff teams. He's played in Memphis, a large part of his career. So I think the familiarity combined with that personal relationship makes this an easy business transition for Ja Morant, in my opinion.
I would agree. I think that it makes a lot of sense in that way. When you look at it from the perspective of Ja, he's going to do what he's going to do, right? Like when all of these things happen with his off-the-court issues, in my opinion, Damichael, and you know Ja far better than me, that was his time. If he was going to cut people out of his life, I got to move on. I can't do things this way anymore. That was his moment. And that moment has passed, and the family has stayed the family. It's not my space to say that that's right or wrong. It's his life. It's his millions. It's all of those things. And time will tell whether or not that was the right or wrong decision for him. He clearly thinks it's the right decision. And maybe he sees it as a marriage of Mike Miller, who I'm sure he didn't have that great of a relationship with before coming to Memphis, because it wouldn't really make sense for him to have it. Maybe he sees it as a merging of the two. This is someone who is not in my traditional family unit. You talked about Pac and obviously his father, all the folks that he's been around for much of his life. It's not quite that, but it's also not somebody from Clutch or some other organization that maybe won't have anything but his business interest in mind because he's developed that relationship. It seems like a good merging of the two to me.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way of putting it. You mix, the best of both worlds, I guess you can say in this case. And there are some other people who are in Ja Morant's, I guess, inner circle who didn't start out with him in Carolina or didn't start out with him at Murray State. Some of them met him early on in his time in Memphis, and over the course of years of an established relationship, they've grown close. And I like to think of Mike Miller as someone who kind of fits that mold. Mike Miller isn't someone he met yesterday or yesteryear. There's years built into that relationship. And to get on the Lyft side of things, because we haven't talked about Lyft much in this conversation, Lyft sports management hasn't been around very long. I think, Paulo Banchero was Lyft's first big, superstar, I guess, type client when, before he became the number one pick. He kind of signed on to Lyft, and that was when they were pretty much coming off of the ground. So Lyft is still very new from an agency perspective. So that just goes to show you that a part of this decision, he wasn't looking for the most prestigious agency out there that's, helped guys get several max contracts over the last 20, 25 years, the Bradburys of the world and all those type of guys. I know a lot of people through Clutch out there and the big names like that, but this is a Ja Morant decision. This is pretty much what we've seen, what we've noticed from Ja Morant. And a lot of you could have seen this coming. I don't know why people thought these super big names. It's like people forget Ja Morant's personality in certain ways. This is the same guy. Remember when it was New York and Memphis were the 2 and the 3 and whatnot? And his family will tell you, everyone in his family, even Ja, to a certain degree, will talk about it. He preferred Memphis over playing in New York. Some players say, oh, yeah, I want to go play in Madison Square Garden under the lights. Bigger people. Ja wanted to be in Memphis. More of a, more of a place where he could connect to somewhere that was closer to what home felt like. And if you transfer that over to his agency decision, Lyft is more like that. It's more like home. It's more like Memphis, more so than, the Clutch, sports of the world and those type of places that relate more to your bigger city, New York, LA type vibe. So not surprised at all in this case. And we'll see how that relationship continues to develop. Tyus Jones is also, with Lyft. Jordan Goodwin, former Grizzly, is with Lyft as well. Kennedy Chandler is also with Lyft. So there's a lot of familiarity as well.
Fascinating stuff there. Great insight from Damichael Cole. You can only find it 2 places, the Commercial Appeal and Locked On Grizzlies. Great stuff there, partner. You know far more about it than me. I am interested to watch it play out from, because Ja was doing movie spots before, right? And maybe this is more of a localized, I'm going to keep the focus on basketball. How it evolves is going to be important both for Lift and for Morant. It's easily their best signing to this point.
Without a doubt.
Size and scope. So it'll be fun to watch play out. And again, right there in Memphis, right down the street even.
Yeah, you just reminded me of something too. I did say on that show, I said the place that Ja goes, I tried to hint people that it wouldn't be clutch because I said where he goes, he will be the guy. Was I right? At Lift, he is the guy.
You nailed that.
He is the guy.
No disrespect to Palavenchero, but I'm pretty sure Ja Morant trumps him at this point. When we come back here on Locked On Grizzlies, we are going to start our first annual Locked On Grizzlies draft. We'll explain all the rules and start that fun. It's going to be the rest of the show. We got a two-segment segment here, partner. I'm excited about it. It's going to be fun. Stick with us here on Locked On Grizzlies. But first things first. This episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by the good folks at Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little bit further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue, for example, perfect for city drives, great escapes, class exclusive Google built-in, which is always updating as an assistant for you to call on for almost anything. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect mid-size crossover for your next adventure. Or maybe you're like me. You've got a family of 3 plus a wife. You want more space. A 2024 Nissan Armada is exactly what you want from a full-size SUV, a rugged 4x4 that can seat up to 8 in first-class luxury and style. You can tow bigger and explore further in the Armada as well. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find that next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. This episode of Locked On Grizzlies is also brought to you by BetterHelp. It's natural to want to try to get things off of your chest, right? Whether it's the bad season the Memphis Grizzlies just had, maybe your team made a bad pick in the draft last night, you hated the trade, whatever the case might be, that might seem like a small thing to some, but to you, it matters a lot. And it's important to get things off your chest, especially with people that are unbiased on your life. I feel that way about a lot of stuff, and BetterHelp is a great way to try to get that stuff going, whether it's now or in the near future for you. If you are thinking of starting therapy, you should give BetterHelp a try. It is entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. Get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA to get started. All right, partner, it's time for the 2024 Memphis Grizzlies roster draft on Locked On Grizzlies. Right? That's not, for those of you that might be confused, that was not a sounder. That was not something that we downloaded. That was me.
That's
if you're not watching on YouTube,
horn. Yeah.
If you are watching on YouTube, I look forward to the screen grabs of my face going and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure there'll be lots of fun played. But if you're listening, no, it's not a digital. That was me live. You should be impressed.
You sound like the Monday night football.
I tell you what, they
need
to just sign me up, right? They need to
just let Joe. Yeah.
Why are they using a soundboard? Just use me. Here are the very basic rules to our draft. There are 16 players that Damichael and I are considering. 15, including the two-way guys. Technically, it's 13, right? 13 full roster spots after Yuta Watanabe announcing he's opting out. We've got Scottie Pippen Jr. and Trey Jemison on two-way contracts going into next season. And Damichael and I, for fun, are going to include the current, according to Tankathon, 7th overall pick. Now, we understand it's unlikely they pick right at 7. They could move up. They can move back. For the sake of ease, we're going to go at 7, and we're going to go with who Tankathon has selected, and that is Donovan Clingan, big man, out of UConn. Okay, so the 15 guys on the roster plus Clingan equals 16. That means I get 8 picks. Damichael gets 8 picks. We're going to comprise 2 rosters. And then you, dear listener, dear viewer, are going to decide whether it's on X, we're going to do a poll over the weekend, or whether it is here in our comments, who won the draft, myself or Damichael. Now, we had a drawing for who gets the first overall pick. I won that drawing, so I get to go first. Then the order will just go back and forth. It won't be snake style like a fantasy football draft or something like that. It'll be just like what the NFL is currently doing, except instead of 32 teams being involved, It is just 2. Damichael Cole, are you ready, sir?
Yeah, I'm pretty much. I think I'm going to be on the clock first because you got one of those generational type first round picks here where Victor Wembanyama's on the clock or LeBron James is on the clock, and then
Caleb Williams like in the NFL.
You don't got much to debate here. I think I'm where the conversation starts.
Yeah, so with the first overall pick in the 2024 Memphis Grizzlies roster draft on Locked On Grizzlies, Team Joe selects Ja Morant, guard, out of Murray State, right? Pretty easy. We don't have to do that big fancy thing, by the way, partner. I just wanted to start it off, as close to traditional as possible. So I've got Ja. Who's your number 2 pick? Or technically your first pick.
I like that. Let me do that at least one time.
Okay, yeah, you do it once. You got it.
Put on my Roger Goodell voice real quick.
Okay, and I got to keep track here so we're not doing repeats. I'm ready.
And play the little draft theme song. With the second pick in the 2024 Locked On Grizzlies NBA draft, Team Cole selects Desmond Bane, guard, TCU.
Ooh, I like that selection. That's nice. And I like that was a very good sounder. I might have competition in the sound effects. Oh man, that was really good. I'm going to try that do one. I forgot about that one. The draft. Gosh, I got excited about Monday Night Football. You're exactly right. Okay, so far I've got Ja Morant. Damichael has Desmond Bane. Probably fairly obvious where I'm going with this one. That was pretty good. That was better than
that was good too.
Yeah. And again, we don't have to be this formal every time. But with my second pick, I am going to be choosing Jaren Jackson Jr., big man out of Michigan State. So I've got Jaren Jackson Jr. on my squad. To your point earlier, partner, this might be a good example of the draft doesn't really start until the 4th pick, right? Because the big 3 were probably always going to go 1, 2, 3 in some sort of order. So maybe this is where the draft begins, is with you.
This is where the draft begins. And I tell you what, I'm about to have some fun here. With the 4th pick in the draft, the 4th overall pick, and the number 2 selection for Team Cole, I'm going to go with Luke Kennard.
Wow.
That's my number 4 pick, Luke Kennard. Give me the 2 best shooters. Now, you put a team around Ja Morant without the 2 best shooters. How about that?
Wow.
I'm playing defense here against your team while also maximizing the talent on my team. That's what you call a GM.
That is very impressive. I like where your head is at because I was going to pick Luke Kennard. That was going to be my next pick.
Well, now you got to worry about the paint being clogged up around Ja Morant. So
yeah, I do. I do have to worry about that, but I do think I'm going to go maybe a little bit off the beaten path myself here with my 3rd pick, 5th overall. With the 5th pick in our draft, I am going with Vince Williams Jr., wing out of VCU. Vince Williams Jr. is the pick for me at my 3rd spot. See, there you go. We're on. It's mind meld, man. Mind meld. So I've got Vince Williams Jr. Who do you got next?
Well, you stole my pick there. I just knew you'd go with this guy. So this is one of those cases where I'm gonna have to go best player available because the draft board falls and certain guys you don't expect to be available at this point. 6th pick, I did not expect this guy to be available, so I'm gonna go with Marcus Smart to add to my guard rotation. Give me a strong defensive guard to go with that duo of shooters that I have.
Yeah, that duo of shooters in that very tiny lineup that you're building over there, partner. Very small. Getting a little bit nervous for you over there. But okay, so far, just keeping you up to date, we've got Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Vince Williams Jr. on Team Joe. Team Cole is Desmond Bane, Luke Kennard, and Marcus Smart. With my 4th pick, this would be 7th overall in our draft, I'm going to be selecting one G.G. Jackson. Jackson out of South Carolina, 7th overall to the Memphis Grizzlies. Team Joe version. Team Joe. I'm excited to hear how Team Cole ends our first round of the draft.
Yeah. I'm going to end the first round here by adding some size here, but also adding some athleticism to the front court. I'm going to go with the recently healed Brandon Clark as my 4th overall selection. We got the 3-point shooters. Now we got a rim running threat to keep the floor spaced for those guys.
All right. So a quick review before we take a brief break of our draft. Team Joe on this roster draft has Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Vince Williams Jr., and Gigi Jackson. Team Cole has Desmond Bane, Luke Kennard, Marcus Smart, and Brandon Clark. When we come back here on Locked On Grizzlies, we will close out our draft, have a chance to maybe explain our logic a little bit more. And again, there's going to be a poll that'll be on X starting this morning. Will last through the weekend. You can hit us up in the comments too. Let us know who won the draft, and we'll hit it up on Monday when it'll be one of our topics on our Monday edition of the show. Very excited for that. So make sure you are checking that out, and make sure that you are checking out all the wonderful work that is going on over on 24/7's, on Locked On Sports 24/7, whether it's on Amazon Fire's free TV channels app, or whether it is part of YouTube. Of course, it is the first ever 24/7 streaming channels app on YouTube about sports, all the analysis that you expect from Locked On and much more. If you're tired of the screaming from Fox Sports and ESPN and all that stuff, come check out Locked On Sports 24/7 on YouTube and wherever you get your Amazon Fire free channels app as well. Good stuff. Make sure you're checking out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel. It's good stuff. This episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by LinkedIn. Big fan of LinkedIn. You should be as well. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. It has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. It's not just a job board. LinkedIn helps you find professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. You can hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Make yours next. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. When we come back here on Locked On Grizzlies, we're closing out the draft. Who's going to win? That's going to be up to you. We'll talk more about that next. Stick with us. Welcome back to Locked On Grizzlies. I am Joe Mullinax, joined by my co-host Damichael Cole of the Commercial Appeal. It's been a fun Friday episode of Locked On Grizzlies. We talked about Ja Morant's new agent, Mike Miller, familiar to Memphis Grizzlies fans, of course. We also started our first ever Memphis Grizzlies roster draft. Here is where we stand going into the end of the draft. Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Vince Williams Jr., and Gigi Jackson. They all play for me, Team Joe. Team Cole has Desmond Bane, Luke Kennard, Marcus Smart, and Brandon Clark. So those 8 names are now off the board. We have 8 names to go that are still on the board. That is the 13 guys that are firmly assuming team options, like for a Luke Kennard, on the roster. Then you have your two-way guys, right? We talked about Trey Jemison and Scottie Pippen Jr. They're still available. And this guy, who's going to be my selection to lead off this round, you had to see it coming, with the 9th pick in our draft. I am rounding out my very large roster to Michael Cole. I have size on you. My pick is going to be who Tankathon currently has the Memphis Grizzlies selecting at 7 overall. His name is Donovan Clingan, center out of UConn. I have got size for days outside of Ja Morant.
Yeah, you got size, but I got shooting. You know, if I play my style of basketball, we're going to score a lot of points against you. So with my next pick, I'm going to keep the profile of this team going, and I'm going to go with Santi Aldama to add to my front court.
Okay, so you're going Santi Aldama. So let's say these are the starters, right? Jaren, Vince Williams Jr., Gigi Jackson, and Clingan against Bane, Kennard, Smart, Clark, and Aldama. I'm curious as to who's going to be defending Gigi Jackson for you, and that'll be fun. And I can't wait to hear people in the comments. You know, I got to be honest. Part of my logic is it's going to be an internet debate, and people are going to say I won because I have Vince Williams Jr. and Gigi Jackson. Actual basketball, maybe that's not the case, but when it comes to the debate of public opinion on the internet, I think I might have you, partner.
Yeah, for sure. I'm dependent on the analytical people out there to say that Damichael has the better shooting team. So
Oh,
you're going to shoot the highest shooting percentage overall, and yeah, you're going to get
that's
those
fair.
2-point shots and all that. But on any given day, I can go Miami Heat against the Boston Celtics against you and knock down 22 3-pointers with Desmond Bain,
That
Marcus
might be
Smart,
true.
Santi Aldama, and Luke Kennard lurking over there for me.
I'll give you that, partner. That might be true. This next one, I thought about 2 different names for this pick, and I just couldn't get myself to take the one that maybe would make more rebounding sense for me, because there's no denying outside of Klingon. Well, and Vince Williams Jr. rebounds relatively well. And Gigi can too. But anyway, I can't bring myself to draft John Conchar. So spoiler alert, you can probably get him with the last pick if you want. He's not coming to my team. I will be selecting at this point, though, Jake LaRavia. Jake LaRavia is going to be my next pick. Adding a little bit of that shooting. I hear you, partner. That does matter. Well, I think Vince Williams Jr. can add some of that. Certainly need a little more spacing. Essentially, my 6th man becomes Jake LaRavia, the 11th pick out of 16 in our draft here.
Yeah, I like that one. Another one that you potentially stole from me. And FYI, I was definitely going to test you out on John Conchar. I just assumed he was.
You can let him go to the last pick if you want.
He was off the Joe Mullinax draft board, so I was just going to let that one ride out. Typically, I would have drafted him around this range, but I know that Joe isn't going to draft him.
I'm not going to take him. I'm helping you out since I got the first pick.
Oh, I knew you weren't going to draft him. It was part of the team strategy over here. But with that being said, I'm going to go add some point guard depth. I have like Luke Kennard, Desmond Bain, and Marcus Smart, but I need a more natural point guard here. And I might surprise you with this one. I'm going to go with what I feel like is the better 2-way option here, and that's the 2-way player. And I'm going to go with Scottie Pippen Jr. As my next pick.
That is surprising.
I think. You go look at his last 5 games you played, you see 4 steals, 2 steals, 2 steals, 4 steals, like multiple steals, very good on the ball defensively, sneaky athleticism. Like we saw a couple dunks and it was like, where did that come from? And we know, the shooting was 40% plus from 3-point range. Facilitating was fine. That's my point guard that I'm going to go with off the bench.
I think you might be onto something. I definitely thought you would have gone Derrick Rose first. That's impressive. That's growth for you, Damichael Cole. I appreciate that development. All right. So again, to revisit, because I think we only got 4 picks left. Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Vince Williams Jr., Gigi Jackson, Donovan Klingon, Jake LaRavia. That's my team. Team Cole is Bain, Kennard, Smart, Clark, Aldama, Scottie Pippen Jr. 4 names remain. My next pick, I'm not super stoked about. But I do think it's of the options available, given my disdain.
Hey, we're at the bottom now, It's
for selecting John Conchar. I think I'm going to have to go Zaire Williams. Here. Zaire Williams is my pick. I'm hoping he's healthy. And again, my size. I think the shortest guy I got on my team is Ja Morant at 6'3". The next shortest might be, I think Vince Williams Jr. 6'6". Everybody else is 6'9" or taller. So I've got the size advantage here.
Yeah, and speaking of size, I'm going to counter your advantage and try to add a little bit more, just to give me another big physical body. Trey Jemison, you look at the way he played in college. He would have been a fun matchup against Donovan Klingon, based on playing style. So I'm gonna take my chances there. Give me Trey Jemison to bang in the paint with your Donovan Klingon and Jaren Jackson Jr. duo.
Okay, fair enough. I like that pick. Unfortunately for you, partner, this is a draft, and you can never believe what somebody says in a draft. I got you, buddy. The last pick of my draft, I am taking John freaking Conchar. Come home, Johnny K. Come home, Johnny Basketball. You still get Derrick Rose. Congratulations, buddy. You can't trust a GM on draft day, partner.
Never. And I still would have made the same selection regardless. I would have taken Trey Jemison, even if I know you were going to pull the pump fake on me. So come on home, Derrick Rose. Matter of fact, mentor some of the guys over here. And, we might need a couple buckets every now and then. So, come on. We got Derrick Rose in our 8th spot. I'm fine with it.
I like our draft. This was fun. We're definitely going to do this again. All right. So maybe we can do it over the summer with like all-time Grizzlies. I know.
Yeah,
that's
just
been
let
a
me
lot.
plead my case to the viewers real quick.
Okay.
Because
Yeah. Let's do that to close the show. You go first. How about I go first, and then you can have the last word since I got the first.
Let me get the last words.
Okay. So I'll go first. I've got Ja Morant, the generational talent. I've got Jaren Jackson Jr., arguably the best two-way player on the team. I've got the size advantage. I have scoring with G.G. Jackson. Vince Williams Jr. can play that backup point. We've seen that. The rise of Jake LaRavia, I think, sets me over the edge. Donovan Clingan as another true big that can rebound. You have Jaren Jackson Jr. truly playing the four where he's best deserved to be. If Zaire and Conchar give me anything, especially Zaire, it's icing on the cake. I think I've got the deeper roster here.
Yeah. But if you look at your roster, Joe, I will say that you have the high end, the top end, but off the bench, I don't see much production coming from here. Much solid, really good production. I got Scottie Pippen Jr., coming off the bench. I think that's solid scoring production as well. Derrick Rose, in the minutes that he played this season, was very good. Quality off the bench as well. So when you look at my team, I think of it like this. We have good depth off the bench, whereas Brandon Clark gets in foul trouble. We got Trey Jemison and things like that. But going to my starting lineup, this is where I really have to plead my case. Look, don't overthink this, everybody. Don't overthink this. Yes, he has Ja Morant, so there's a natural advantage there because he has the best player on the floor. I have the team. He has the best player. I have the best team. Desmond Bane, great shooter. Luke Kennard, great shooter. Marcus Smart has made the big shots. Joe Mullinax said it himself. Santi Aldama, really good shooter. And Brandon Clark is going to be rim running to the rim. So if you bring a help defender down after he sets that screen and rolls to the rim with the big trailing behind him, either the big's going to have to catch up or that weak side defender is going to come down, and Santi or probably Luke Kennard are going to get a wide open three-point shooter. I take my chances with that all the time. We got Desmond Bane on the ball. I know everyone can like what we've seen from Point Des over the last couple of years, so I'm fine with that. But even if the point thing doesn't work out, we got Scottie Pippen Jr., we got Derrick Rose off the bench. We have Trey Jemison if Donovan Clingan and or Jaren Jackson Jr. want to play bully ball against my boy Santi Aldama or Brandon Clark. So we got kind of a curveball for that as well. But put it like this. If Joe makes 30 shots and makes, a couple three-pointers, I'm fine with that. Because I can make 25 shots and make 10 three-pointers and outscore him. It's the Daryl Morey, it's the Mike D'Antoni system. Come over here where we're playing smart basketball. Over there, they're the hoopers. We're the basketball players. We're playing smart basketball over here. Let them outshoot us. But at the end of the day, we're gonna clog that paint like Minnesota did against Ja Morant. We're gonna clog that paint like LA did. We're gonna clog that paint like Golden State did. G.G. Jackson. We're going to dare him to make the shots. We're going to dare Vince Williams to knock him down. We're going to dare all those guys to make the shots because you can't dare our guys to make three-point shots.
That was an impressive argument. I'll give you that. But at the end of the day, I can defend the three-point line, and you're going to have to come at Donovan Clingan and Jaren Jackson Jr. Who's getting to the bucket outside of Bane? I don't got much happening. Everybody's playing 48 minutes. This is New York Knicks Thibodeau basketball.
Oh.
I left that part out too. No, I'm just kidding. That would be cheating. I am excited to see what you guys think. Let us know in the comments. Hit us up on X. Again, we'll share it over the weekend, the poll. Are you Team Cole? Are you Team Joe? It's all in good fun. I think it makes for an interesting conversation heading in to Monday's program. And on Monday, we'll talk about this. We can revisit what happened in the weekend over the weekend with the playoffs. Continuing our march towards the draft lottery drawing, which is coming up next month. Obviously, the combine. Damichael, you hinted in the past you might be heading to the combine. So maybe we'll get some more updates coming up on some prospects, and we'll start our player reviews as well. So thank you guys so much for checking out this episode. Make sure you're checking us out on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get podcasts. Make sure you're making Locked On Grizzlies a part of your NBA and Memphis Grizzlies content consumption. Check out Locked On Sports Today on YouTube, also on Amazon Fire TV under the free channels portion of that app. Make sure you are doing everything you can to be an everydayer for Locked On Grizzlies. Damichael appreciates you. I appreciate you. We appreciate you. We hope you have a wonderful weekend, nice and safe and smart and doing all the things that you should do to vote for Team Joe to win. We'll catch you next time on Monday.